I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I need to get better on this whole like estimating time thing, but it's okay, cause it's an inexact science. It's not an exact science. I just look at each one of these videos, do at least an hour of talking on each one of these, but really loose free association. I really like how the light's coming. This is a good time. The sun usually doesn't blast like this. It must be something about we're getting near the 22nd and the winter equinox. So we're gonna pick up where we left off. We're just going straight into this. I might even take a break and like take a piss or something. Yeah, because we're doing the 6 hours, so we're just doing it hard. Just stop a video, start a video. I'm not even gonna eat. I'll eat afterwards. I had like some egg burritos before this, uh, and a plant protein shake. So Brooklyn YMCA, I'm almost caught up to it. So I went after Puerto Rico. Well, after Occupy Wall Street, I went to Puerto Rico. I spent about a couple months there, and I remember on my March 15th, 2012. I was 30 and I cried that day. I was just like, I have so much stuff I'm trying to do with my life. All the writing I've done up to that point, all that like traveling around with Sean and Occupy Wall Street. And Occupy Wall Street was really emotionally intense. There's so much going on, and we can't tell who's what and what's going on. And there's a lot of different manipulating factors from the outside. And we got beat and harassed by the NYPD, and you can see that all this energy of people who were, if you look at the documents that were released afterwards, which haven't really made the media, because well, the media from the beginning was trying to discredit the movement. It shows you how captured our society is by corporate interest. Occupy Wall Street was an anti-corporate movement, and so most of our communications are captured through corporate channels, and so we were discredited just because our values. It's hard to articulate, and that's what Steve, is it Bilko, Franz Fanon, the people who talk about the colonization of Africa have really good descriptions for it. How when you colonize the mind of the oppressed, and so the American public, pretty much colonized by corporations, I would say, right? Media consolidation, resources, even the new tech giants, and they're colonizing us through data. Our treasury is being raided for these endless wars of aggression, which don't provide us extra safety, but just provide BP a way to get back into Iraq. The companies that weren't in Iraq before, when with Saddam trying to be nationalistic and protect his country's resources through his dictatorship, and not that he's a nice guy, but they were nationalists who were protecting the resources of their people, and now the corporations are in there. Same thing with Gaddafi. These countries all had free health care, and but then from the outside, the commentators are like, they're cruel, inhuman people. You're going to defend them? Well, let's reverse it. Are you going to defend profiteering, wars for private profit? Because that's what these wars are. There's private profit being made on these wars, on the blood of the soldiers, and they're only justified through lies. All of these wars. I'm going through them all right now. Right now, I'm writing history of the United States. Well, a brief history, but anyways, so yeah, in Occupy Wall Street was a lot of emotions. I'm noticing with these videos too, is you bring up these emotions, you live through them. So doing those 18 hours of videos about Occupy Wall Street, I was right back there, and that's why they're all free. I didn't know I was going to do 18 hours. I was just going to go through the documents and talk about them. Not try to talk too much, but if I had something to say, I'll speak on it. Like the last video I just did. Let the emotions breathe. And that's why I've learned this year is that how do you deal with emotional and rational brain, and what are they? That's something I was thinking of last year, about a year ago. I was like, maybe I should run for president, like I did with the governorship, as a political stand in order to get some truth out there and see where it goes. And started thinking, well, I'm gonna have to start recording myself to, if that's my strength, is I can be honest, I can move faster, and I can correct towards the truth. I'm sincere, and that's what I think is lasting. That's what's lacking in this world, is sincerity and honesty, character. So a lot of noise around me. These are busy streets that my parents live on. I can tell you what type of neighborhood it is. If you live right on the highway, it's a certain type of neighborhood. We have always been modest people, but yeah. So I was like, a year ago, I was like, shit, 2018 I'll think about it, and by the end of 2018 I'll do it if I want to. But I built up a real estate company. See, we're right now we're in 2012, so we're about to do the 2012 to 17, and that'll cover those last 5 years to explain catching up to how my life started on this journey. But yeah, I was like, I need to start checking what's in my head. I mean, you think you know what's in your head, but for me, being in relationships and women, in my experience, really expose your vulnerabilities. Love does too. That's why I said in that last video about sex. You could be a better lover physically and also emotionally if you dig into yourself, and a good partner will give you that foil to allow you to probe your blind spots. And then so I had to start doing that, but in earnest. My original timeline was do 20 years in real estate, do the normal thing, build up a business. I had already done it for 5. I had a business. Another 15. I would like 5 growing it, and then maybe like 10 absentee. Grow up a nice little nest egg. Prove to myself in my industry and my city. If you're going to do real estate, New York's the most rewarding but also difficult place to do it. 30,000 agents all competing for the same business. Most of them concentrated downtown, which is where I was, in the Village. The Village is the most desirable neighborhood to live in. The most Googled, Greenwich Village, according to our metrics. Everything follows pop culture. We have Sex in the City and Friends. People still go by, I think it's the Owl Cafe. What is that street? You go down. I'm forgetting my New York stuff. Fucking forgot the street. But you go down the street around the corner from me. It was like a 5-minute walk from me. I'd walk down there smoking a joint, and you see people taking pictures every single day outside because it's the exterior shot that they used for Friends. It's not actually where those apartments are tiny. They couldn't, that was a set. You couldn't, that type of apartment they had in Friends, you could find in like maybe Soho, Tribeca. You're not going to find that in the Village because every neighborhood has the types of apartments that, based on the character of the neighborhood. And the Village are these small little buildings. Some of them have been renovated and they're huge on the inside, but those are like $10,000-$15,000 on up. Anyways, the people, because of pop culture, it's a very, not just because of that. What are the other reasons why we're going to talk about real estate, so we don't have to get too much into it now. Yeah, that's just like, it's at the edge of my mind. I like New York real estate. I learned a lot about Manhattan. But that was the plan. That's what I was talking about. And then I started recording myself. I was like, all right, so time to start really checking in earnest in what's in my head. I've, for the last 5 years, doing a lot of mushrooms, doing a lot of weed, both psychedelics, help you observe your thoughts. But I do the working out. I practice love. I think my philosophy right now is broken down in like 6 sections. And one of those sections is the wisdom of the other. And the other is path, plants, and partners. So listening to yourself. You have to listen to yourself before you listen to anyone else. You can't. When people talk about the art of listening, what I've learned in life is if they don't have a practice of just sitting still and quiet, whether you call it meditation or whatever, but there has to be times, even here at my folks' house, I've been taking these hour-long walks, but you have to just be with your thoughts without distraction. In nature, it usually helps with the sun on your skin, feels really great, or walking. Walking and thinking is a certain type of thinking, and it just feels good. Some people might think it's boring. That's the whole point. Just like when I wake up and I don't want to go to the gym. That's the whole point. Because you're going to overcome that laziness, that inertia, and that's the reward. Is when you come back from the gym an hour and a half later, you feel great, you feel strong, you feel like you did something hard and you've accomplished it. And if you're not getting control of your life energy, then most likely it's being preyed on by someone else. Life isn't, we don't live in a vacuum. We live around a lot of other people, energies, intentions. Energy is just a catch-all for all of these other ones, but the other ones you can quantify. Intentions as actuated by people's will, their character, their beliefs, and their goals. And when they come in conflict with yours, and you're just sitting there not doing anything with your energy, with your potential, it's probably going to get sucked into their shit. And so pushing yourself hard at something that improves you is going to teach you how to control that energy when I come back from the gym. That's what the reward is. When I'm going there, I'm like, ah. Oh. But you never regret it afterwards. So when the walks, if you're thinking, oh, it's boring, or just sitting there, it's boring, that's the whole point. Let's be aware of our energy and our thoughts, because every walk will give me at least one good idea. I'll get something good. Or I'll learn, or I'll see, like, grab a leaf off a tree and rub it in my hands. I've been thinking about getting a dog recently, but I have to get my finances and my life back stable. But yeah, dogs are another thing. Ways to observe your thoughts, slow down, get into another pattern. We spend 3 to 5 hours on these smartphones and other stuff. We have work. I'm treating this like work. I'm doing 6 hours a day. I was doing about 3 to 4 hours before, maybe 5, which is exhausting. Now I'm going to start, we've already done 10 minutes now. I'm going to start doing 6 for this week to knock this project out. But I've been treating this like a job, reading and writing on the side as well. But you need that time when you're just expressing just you. I don't know that. These are just ideas. I don't know the exact expression for these ideas, but they've been balancing my life out. So this year I've been observing myself, recording myself a lot, and now this is the final result of all that. Every time I get to the end of a project, I'm like, all right, what should I do? And I do the next thing. Assuming there's money at the end of it, I'm going to monetize this somehow, trusting that an entrepreneurial part of my brain will figure that part out. It's like, until I have my team, I have to be all parts of the team. So sometimes I think of advertising or marketing ideas, and I jot those down in notebooks like this, and then I put them aside, because that needs a project to market. And then, so this project I'm working on to finish this, and yeah, and I have a whole year worth of recordings and a bunch of stuff. But before I got into real estate, before I took the insecurity of never really having money off the table, just like having relationships and being able to actually see an attractive girl, like, as like an older guy, I'm like 36, so being like 35, 36, and seeing like a cute, like, young 20 girl, and being like, oh, she's like, has like a very, very attractive, and then like pursuing, and then for better and for worse, the good, excuse me, I put a lot of milk in my coffee, and then also talking a lot makes you a little lightheaded, I think, but yeah, the good and the bad. The good of like, oh, candy, and then you grab it, and then the bad of like, oh, I ate too much candy, my stomach hurts. There's a reason why a lot of young girls would be with the older guy, and not all of those reasons are because you're attractive and charming. Some of them are issues that they're working on in their head, and then you're like, all right, do I want to be someone's therapy? Do I want to be someone's? Don't want to keep going over this process. Some people would. Some people are like, yeah, just use whatever trick you have in your bag to keep fucking young, beautiful women, but I'm trying to look for partners. And those partners couldn't be young, especially as I get older. It might be that I'm always going to have a big age gap between me and my partners, but it has to be a partnership, though. So I was learning those things you have to learn, but that's getting the insecurity out of. I think if you don't learn that, then you could be preyed on by powerful women, and powerful women, not money wise, but sexually. So there's one in my life recently. The last girl I was with, a dancer, and she's has a very powerful energy, and she's able to get men under her spell. And so just dancing with that back and forth, learning the first time that the first couple times even, maybe. People need practice, I think. Especially people like me who are so sensitive. The first time I kissed a girl, my leg was like that, my leg on the fucking ground. I couldn't even she was like, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm okay. We were like practice kissing, and I was like in my apartment complex, and she was a cute girl who lived behind me. But yeah, she was into my friend, I think, but like me and her were friends, and one of her friends kind of liked me maybe or something, and I was like, it was funny, it was weird. It was, I'd have to think about that. Maybe she was actually into me. Why would she let me practice kiss her? I was like, your friend likes me, but I'm afraid that I'm not going to be a good kisser, so we should practice. Something like just to trick her into kissing me. That's what it is too, leading with insecurity. That's not attractive. You want to, but that's why you work on yourself. That's why you do things for yourself and you put effort and time into yourself. So that way you don't lead with insecurity. You lead with like your feet under you. Like, this is who I am. Let me get to know who you are. We have the rest of our life to do that. There's no rush. But then also, if we have a moment or if there's an inspiration, follow your inspiration. Follow your, if you feel inspired. That's all. That's the only advice I ever give anyone, really. Guy or girl. I'm like, just, there'll be moments in your life when someone comes across your radar. And that's that inspiration. And so just pay attention. You don't want to, because a lot of times you're inspired by people who didn't even notice you. But pay attention, because if they noticed you and you notice them, there's a reason for that. Whether pheromones or looks or the way you're carrying yourself or the way that they saw you or something. But that's what I mean when I'm talking about I'm working out at the gym right now. It's like maybe I'm noticing people or maybe it's in my own head, but just pay attention when people get on your radar. But I'm not in a dating mood right now. I was talking to the dancer girl recently. I'm going to try to see her relatively soon. I feel I should see her. But then that's my pattern, and I always go back. See, when I break up with people, it's like I always at least go back for the friendship or something. So I feel like I need to see her. She has this little girlfriend right now. She double dipping. She's on the other side now. She got a little French dancer, and they're doing a cute little thing, which makes me feel a little bit more comfortable, because I feel like it's a little bit safer place for her to put her heart with a girl. And most of the dudes that she was messing with were like New York dudes, mostly are, from my experience, are hyper aggressive, and they have this certain macho type of energy. And I think the dancer girl, that's why we connected. I think she's more sensitive than she lets on. She acts like she wants to jump out in the world and get a bunch of experience, but I think she's figuring it out. That's what I've also learned, is step out of the way of people's lessons. Because sometimes people learn their lessons through mistakes or pain or whatever. But your emotions transform and characters develop through experience. So our cerebral part of our brain thinks that we can just pass down lessons to other people. Oh, no, I learned that, so you just listen to me. But a lot of people, especially people like me, people I associate with, we're stubborn. And so when you notice that, step back and be like, okay, they gotta learn this, but they gotta learn it their way. And that's what I'm starting to realize with like my female relationships. Like with the dancer girl, I just got to. Well, this year has been all about my journey anyway, so I didn't have room in my life for her. So we lived together until like July, when I got evicted from my apartment. But she yeah, I think she still has some stuff to learn, from what I can tell. Some stuff that if you compromise on stuff like that, and if you're a person like me and you're trying to live an honest, straight life, and you're trying to improve your character and have a word and live by your word, that's the way that you actually improve, is have a word, live by it, and then you're corrected by the world. And so when things happen, you look at what you can learn from the situation. And when necessary, you take a stand when you need to, when you feel you need to. So if you compromise on that, then you're usually going to start resenting the other person. So you want to make sure that it's tough to figure out what are those deal breakers and what are the things that you're being too hard on. And then that's the art of love. There's a science, I'm sure, of attraction and this and that, but the art is knowing when to take a stand and knowing when to be like, all right, this is just something we can both grow from, but it's not that. What is the deal breaker? And what is the opportunity for growth on your side or on their side? Because we're not all 100% perfect too, right? So there's some blind spots that you might be thinking are deal breakers, but actually a lot of like sexual stuff is like that, where people are like too caught up in their own view of how to get their sexual needs met. And then it's like, dude, if you're like, don't. That's what Shaw was great with me, is that she had a very wild sexual history before she met me. And by that point, I had learned not to be so judgmental towards women. So because I wasn't judgmental towards her, we were able to have a really great relationship. And she was the most loyal and I trusted her with everything, because no other relationship after that. Anyways, it's once you develop something good with a partner, you know you can, and you know it's out there. So you take that insecurity off. That was the main point. Let's talk about this. Oh shit! No, we're supposed to be on the next one. Let me finish up the Brooklyn one and then go to the next one. That's what, when I say I'm gonna do 6 hours, I'm like, oh, I'll just do a little bit of this one, a little bit of the next one. I'm with Shaw. We're in Puerto Rico. She took me back in her arms. She was like, "Let me feed you. Let me take care of you." Blah blah blah. But when I get down there, I always know a good woman. There's like fucking, there's foxes in the hen house. There's not if you, a certain caliber woman and above, whether you say it's emotionally or attractive or whatever, but highly desirable women, there's foxes in the hen house. So I get down to Puerto Rico and I'm like, so who been, who been, who been sneaking up your back door? And sure enough, as soon as I left to go do the cross country trip and then the Occupy Wall Street, this other guy who was a DJ on the island swooped her up, which is good because it's a very hard place to be on your own. Helped her move. She moved in with him. She didn't feel someone like I'm a little like all over the place, but I'm also a little exciting, a little crazy. And so she was like, "Hey, he's just boring. He wasn't like you. You spoiled me with that, with your fucking manic insanity." So I was like, "Yeah, he's a nice guy, very attractive guy, and he's a DJ. He does all the right things that you're supposed to do to get girls. He's into music and he sets the parties." And she was a beautiful woman, and she is a beautiful woman. And people were like, "You're not with that wild guy who wears no shoes with the long hair, a wild caveman guy." Because people were like asking her like, "Am I still around? Is she available?" She was the talk of the island. She had her suitors. But then so I come back and I'm like, so he's out of the picture, but there's this other one, this tourist German guy, and oh, those Germans, they're aggressive. And so this German kid, he was younger, but he had stayed with her on like couch surfing or something, and then he was gone, but she says, well, there's this guy that I said I would meet up with on a neighboring island on Culebra. And I was like, I don't want to. I really appreciate you taking me in because I was in a hard place and I needed, from living on the streets of New York, I needed to recuperate. And the Caribbean is exactly where you can do it. The skin, the ocean on your, I mean, the sun on your skin, the ocean on your skin. I got right back into tour guiding. I was taking people out kayaking. I was getting my strength back like what I'm doing now. And getting a tan and getting my, like, who am I? I'm that guy. I am in my best natural form. Probably I'm living in the wild. I love the patterns of nature. That's why I learned in Puerto Rico that my best expression of myself is away from man-made constructions and more among. That's probably why I went in the military. I never camped before I went in the military, but the military is that ruggedness. And then I made friends, and then we would go camping, go into Big Sur, and go hiking 10 miles into the woods to Hot Springs. It's like a 5-hour hike each way, 3.5 to 5 hours, depending on how you do it. And we would carry my friend. We're just a bunch of dumbasses. We just don't think stuff through. We're just like, let's just do it. And then we just go down there and do it. So go out there without real camping gear. I went out there once without even a tent or a sleeping bag. And I was so cold, I burned my underwear. And then I burned my pants, which was very short-sighted because within 15 minutes I was cold again. I just was like so cold I threw it on the, instead of gathering firewood, I must have been drunk. And I had to borrow someone's shorts, and then after that, after I burned all my shit, I went in the hot springs and I was like, fuck it. And I was just naked in the hot springs. And I was like, I had to borrow someone's shorts to walk back. That was ridiculous, stupid shit. But yeah, we one of our friends was a carpenter, woodworker, and so we took his carpenter's bag and we filled it with 30 beers, and we put it on a large fucking piece of log, and then we carried it between us like fucking. I don't know what you would call it, but like yeah, like a trophy or something, but like the carpenter's bag with the hooks. We put it on the log and then we carried, and just two people switched off carrying these 30 beers. And when we get out there, I was like, oh my gosh, you guys have beer? Because everyone's bringing like liquor and super light backpacking shit. And we were like just walking out there in like fucking construction gear and normal clothes. We're like, we could walk 10 miles in the woods. It's no big deal. But, why did I bring that up? I don't know, stupid stuff. Oh yeah, the nature. So I'm back in Puerto Rico, back in nature, and sort of adjusting. And I'm like, I'm gonna look at that Occupy shit. This is the first time I've looked at it. How long ago? 2011, 7 years. Because I noticed I was insecure about money, and a lot of the issues and perspective I was having was because we were like, how can I criticize us petitioning power? Because that's what they were saying. Where are your demands? What are your demands? We're like, we're not petitioning power. We're trying to have a discussion about civics and how we communicate as a society and values, which is a little slower in this and that. But you always are going to be petitioning power unless you stand on your own 2 feet financially. So you have to have somewhat financial independence. and also independence of thought. And so that's practical anarchism. Is that how can you not believe in authority if you're dependent on it? So I think that was my logical fallacy that I was like, I need to, but I hadn't figured that out yet. I just knew I needed a break. So I went to Puerto Rico, and then I hung out with, yeah, Sean. Oh, she had that German guy. So I was like, I don't want to. I mean, of course, we started hooking up right away. We had a deep, deep connection. It was only after I did real estate for a couple of years that she was like, all right, Chaz, that's over. We're friends now. I don't want you blurring the two. I was like, come on, because I'll just keep fucking my friends forever. I was like, come on. She's like, no. She's smarter. Because in order for us to actually, well, I think I could, I think biologically guys are harder time being monogamous than women. But for her, she was like, in order, she wanted to have other relationships. And if you really selflessly love someone, you want what's best for them. And I totally saw her point, even if selfishly I would want to keep, yeah, she's a beautiful woman. Why wouldn't I want to keep that option open? But that's why I don't trust these like open relationship type things. It's like, is it good for both the people? Because in my experience, the male drive is different sexually than the female drive. And also biologically, they have so many eggs. We have unlimited sperm almost. So they're more choosy partners based on nature. This is all natural biological shit. So I want her to be happy, and I want her to have him. She has a really good relationship. No, I don't know if it's really good, because when you have friends, no one's ever good enough for your friends. But she will have a family eventually, I'm sure, and she'll have a guy to take. That's what it is. When I was breaking up with her, and then took all these times getting back together, but it's like I want her to be someone's number one, and as much as I love her, I can't say she's my number one. She's my friend, and I'll do anything for my friends, but someone can love this woman better than I can. It's a very hard thing to say, and it's a very hard thing to, because you have to put aside selfishness, because like you got that one in the back pocket, but if you really love that person, you have to acknowledge that they deserve a life partner. They don't just deserve to be in the freezer for your. If I want to have friends and fuck toys and girls and play around, there's plenty of young people who are willing to do that. Plenty of other open. There's girls who are down to, I've met, even my age and above, who are just down to have fun. But that's what it is, expectations. I know that Shaw deserves and wants a family eventually. And maybe I'm willing to do that with someone, but me and her, that shit pretty much sailed. So when I'm in Puerto Rico, I was starting to get to that point. It took me into real estate. I still try to have sex with her a couple years into real estate. But I was like, but I was still able to be that selfless, because our whole relationship was based off of being selfless. So I was like, you could, meet up with this guy. I'm not insecure. He's younger than me, and he's like some traveling German dude. I already like typecast him. I was like, he's very passionate and he's very into you, but he is also probably going to be too much. And I've learned the lessons that this man is still learning. So he's going to project his emotions on you probably and bug you after a while. But I didn't say that. I was just like, yeah, I'm here for you. That's what it is when you're in competition. You know when to compete and when to chill and let the other person be a dumbass. So she went over there, and sure enough, he was like, oh, I want to be with you, and blah, blah, blah. She was like, oh, yeah, it's too much. I was just trying to have some fun with you. And, but they had their fun. He was a very passionate man. So I'm on the island waiting for her. Her mom came to visit, Shah's mom. So Shah's mom and she stayed on the other island to hang out with this German dude and have their little tryst. Shah's mom is in the little house that we're renting along with me. What do I look like? Shah's mom, remember when I was in Occupy Wall Street, gave me some shoes and some beer. She never really knew what to make of me. It's like, are you with my daughter? Are you not with my daughter? Now you're homeless? Well, first of all, like, you're with my daughter in New York, and then you took her to California, and then you're going to start a life and a business. You acted like you're going to marry her. And then you sent her back to New York, and then you did something in California, and then you went to Puerto Rico. And then you brought her to Puerto Rico. But then you left, and you went to New York, and then you're on the streets in New York, protesting or something. And then I see you, and I give you some shoes and some beer, just trying to be like, what what's she's trying to be cool, but like, what's going on with you? And then now you're back in Puerto Rico with my daughter. It looks like you're just using her or something. I don't know what she was thinking. Which I like to think I was a benefit. I got a job and I was helping her out, and we miss each other and we were working on a relationship. But the mom was like, the guy in the other island was too much. She was like, she's from El Salvadorian. She's like, what are you? She's on that other island. What are you doing over here? I'm like, well, she's doing her thing. I'm doing my thing. She's like, but are you? She couldn't figure it out, so she was like, get out of here. She was trying to scare me out of the house because I guess she thought that maybe Shaw was gonna bring the guy back, or maybe she was just like, this is too weird. You need to fucking stay away from my daughter. And I was like, nah. And she was like, get out of this. So Shaw is on the other island. I have to spend like a night or two with her mom. And we have a funny history by now. I'm not the standard boyfriend. And she's old school El Salvadorian. A story about her is she grew up in El Salvador during a lot of political violence. And they were able to grow up and then leave there and come to America and get a better life. Someone messed with her sister. Someone grabbed her on the beach or sexually. It wasn't a heavy assault, but it was like someone like scared her sister. So she said, she told one of the family members, go grab the shotgun and grab the truck. And she sat in the back of the truck on a chair while her family member drove through town, and she just had the shotgun and she was shooting up in the air saying, who the fuck touched my sister? Who the fuck touched my sister? Just shooting a shotgun randomly up into the air. That's who this woman is. She's wild. She when she lived in Brooklyn, they bought a building, and they would be dealing drugs. She had help. They've met people in New York, and they've had a really good life, a really good American success story. Hardworking immigrant family climbs from the bottom to the top. Latin American family, not to the top, but to a really nice middle class New York Brooklyn lifestyle. So they bought a building in the 80s, and it was not the nicest neighborhood in Brooklyn, and people were dealing drugs on the steps. And she went up to the drug dealers themselves. She'd grab them by the shirt. She'd be like, this is my building. You could deal there, there, and there, but not here. And she would have her keys in her fist, like fucking a claw full of keys. And she's just like this little fucking Latin woman, but she's like, you could just see in someone's eyes when it's like, you don't know what I've seen. She's just a tough lady. So I got on her bad side. She's like, get out of the fucking house. And I was like, no, what? Where do we have something? Don't worry about it. And she was like, no, leave. And I was like, you're not kicking me out of, because me and Shah were sharing the house. I was like, you're not kicking me out of my own house. And she's like, I will call the cops and I will say that you attacked me. And I looked at this lady and I was like, I'm not gonna, I guess, yeah, I'm not gonna put it past her. And then she grabbed a 2x4 and she starts fucking hitting me. And she's not that big, so I could take her hitting me with a 2x4. But it's like probably this big it would. But she's beating me with this one. She's like, leave, get out, like I'm a fucking, like I'm a bear, or like a dog, or like a. And I was just like, so I literally like grabbed whatever shit I could, and I grabbed a bowl and some weed. I was like, I know I need to smoke tonight, and I grabbed my shit, and I get beat out of my own house. Well, out of the house I was sharing with Shaw. I got a job I was paying. I was never a bum. I always try to pay my way, and I went back to that one lady's house who I used to rent from way back in the day on Puerto Rico, who was a part of the resistance, who helped take the Navy land, and she always had a space for me. I feel that she really loved me, and I really, yeah, I didn't have a close connection with my grandparents, so she was, I went there that night, and I know her family, and I was like, yeah, I need a place tonight. Can I give you some money? And she would charge like 150 for the month, and I just gave her like 50 for the night. I was just like, I gave her real money. Like she was, because it's just, down there you can get really, really good deals, really, really humble people who don't need much to get by. So when you give them the money that you would give like a hotel or like a bed and breakfast, it's like you give it to where it could last a lot further. She yeah, yeah, she must have known I was hard up, because I went into the room, and I was just like, I think I brought a laptop so I could watch some videos and just smoke and be like, what the fuck's going on? Because that's like pretty much nailing the coffin. I know I can't be with Sham. Like the families, we have too much water under the bridge. So that's a big deal. If you're gonna settle down with someone, you gotta make sure you come correct and get the whole family things. That's what I'm starting to realize in my 30s as I think about settling down, or I had a couple options so far in life. Is you start thinking about the family thing, how my family think about them, their family thinks about me. So with Shah, our rough and tumble, rambunctious past kind of made it so friends is the best thing we could be. But this lady, this old lady in Puerto Rico, she comes up and that night I remember she comes up, she kisses me. I'm laying in like a hammock or something. And I just smoked and I'm just kind of thinking. And she comes up behind me, she kisses me on the forehead. She says, I love you. Or she said something like that. It was, I mean, you felt the love. I don't know what she said. But I really liked that lady. She was a real one. The real ones you recognize. And you start to recognize them across generations. She tells me a story. Her man was a little bit wild and he would have his girls and this and that. And so she found out he was running around with a girl on the island. And she tells me the story about how she didn't go talk to the man because how she handles things. Everyone has their own values and cultures and this and that. Is you talk to the woman down there. If the woman's messing with your guys, the guys are going to be guys, but you talk to the woman. So she went to the lady at a bar and she had a knife in her pocket. And she kind of scooted up next to the lady. She told me she would be huge smile on her face, and she'd tell me the story. I went up to her and I said, do you know who I am? And the lady said, no. She said, I am so and so's, what is it, wife, woman, whatever she said. I don't know if she was a wife at that time, maybe. And then she poked her with a knife through the pocket. And I don't even know if she said anything else. But that lady was off the island on the next boat. Some people might think that that's a stupid story, this or that, but like, that's like, I know my people. She's wild. I'm sure all of her actions can't be defended, all my actions can't be defended, but there's a certain way of looking at the world, is that I always try to take care of her when I was there, and I didn't do much. But if I needed a place to stay, I'd rather she got the money. And yeah, there's just humility, toughness. There's these character traits that, like, from the outside, it's like, oh, that's just a crazy person. No, there's something there. They're the ones who took the land back from the military. When the military was like bombing the island, some people on the island were like, we're just going to start fucking living on this land, and you can kick us off and we're just going to come back. And you can keep kicking us off and we'll keep coming back. And eventually they got it. That's the spirit sometimes that it takes. Yeah, she would sing the song, bang, bang, Lulu, Lulu gone away. Who is gonna bang, bang when Lulu gone away? Old, like, calypso songs and stuff. Because this generation, she's like in her 80s maybe. She's a good lady. So that happened. I came back after Shaw's mom left. We're just laughing like crazy shit. She told me the fucking German guy was funny. I was like, yeah, whatever. He's going to Germany anyways. I knew that wasn't a big deal. I come back in your life. I'm not gonna like deny you your fucking tourist hookup. I had plenty. Fucking I didn't. Yeah. So I lived on the island a little bit, and then I was like, who came back to New York first? Me and her both came back. We were like, let's go to New York. She's thinking about going to Portland. She had met some other tourist guy. She was starting to expand her horizons. So she went to Portland. What am I supposed to be on? Because I'm talking about stuff. I was supposed to be talking about the one after Brooklyn. First commissions. I could wrap this up in 20 minutes. So she, yeah, I'm going to do the rest of the Brooklyn thing and catch up to the first commissions. So we were like, let's go to New York. And then she was like, after New York, I'm going to Portland, because she had met a tourist guy who, like, she was doing the thing that I do. It's like, even if she doesn't meet that guy out in Portland, which I don't think she ever did, he had impressed upon her enough. Like, they had a romantic thing, but they didn't consummate it with like hooking up. But when you're in a tourist location and these tourists come through, sometimes, like, I met this girl from Austin, Texas, who had amazing energy, and I was like, I want to go to Austin just because I could feel it off of her. And so she felt Portland off of this guy. And she was like, even if it's not the guy, he was like the most sincere connection she had in a while. And she was like, I'm going to go find that, trace that energy. And also, I thought that was great. I was like, because we did the California Citizens Audit. And I was like, that was all me. And that was my biggest concern, is that you're just becoming my life. You're like my little tag along, which is great. But I need a partner and you need your own thing. And so Portland was going to be her own adventure. She was like, if you're going to be in New York, I can't be in New York. We can't keep doing this back and forth. And I was like, I agree. Go do your Shaw adventure. And I'm going to By then I was like, I'm gonna go just make money. After that's what I had settled on. Occupy Wall Street. I needed to balance out that. People are like, get a job, get a job. I was like, all right, I'm gonna fucking, let's see if I can make money. Let's see if that's actually something. It was an insecurity. That's why I call it an insecurity. It's like, let me run with the tribe of money for a little bit. I went back to, that catches me up to the Brooklyn YMCA. So I contacted the anarchist kids that I used to hang out with and pass out their literature. I was like, yo, can I crash with you? I got a tent. Maybe I could pitch in the backyard. The dude was like, yeah, as long as you contribute. I was like, awesome. So I came back. I didn't tell them about the whole fucking making money thing because they're anarchist people. And that's one of the reasons why we had the falling out. So when I went to Brooklyn, I was, Shah and I, this might be too much information, but these are the things that I remember. And this is human nature. We spent the night there and we couldn't, yeah, we spent the night there, and then like literally the next day or two, she flew out to Portland. She was literally like New York and then gone. It was like, it was beautiful. But we spent the night on like a hallway floor in between the rooms. There was no rooms for me. And then after that, I started living in a tent in the backyard. And then we of course wanted to hook up, but we couldn't really, like, it would have been noisy sex. But then she gave me a blowjob, and she swallowed, and it was just so amazing and so. It's like, is that silly that guys will remember the best blowjobs that they get in their life? That it was just like efficient. It was like I was horny, and then she was just like, I got you. And she just took care of me. For it's stupid, but that's like what love is. But it's not that love is a woman doing everything for you or just satisfying you. But it was just like I was like horny, but we couldn't have sex. I was like, and then she was like, no, and it was just like we were in a. It's stupid. That's a stupid. It's not. Well, there's no such thing as stupid stuff. It's a memory, but it's a fucking memory based on a sexual experience. But it was like the best. Oh, it's hard to rank sexual experiences, but it was a very nice encounter. And I usually, oral sex isn't my thing. I'll give it, but I'm like, I'd rather usually have sex than get a blowjob because I really like sex. It's like I like foreplay and I like stuff that leads up to sex, but I've never been like some people like think blowjobs are the best thing in the world. I think vanilla sex is the best thing in the world, and then you just add toppings onto it. I really like a nice base of a connection. Maybe I need to explore more. This one girl, she was like, are you sure you don't want me to peg you? I can always do you on the butt. And she would bring it up, joking around, and I'm like, this girl really wants to fucking strap on a. But I mean, we could have built up to that. I'm not superstitious about drugs or sex, whatever. I let Shah used to be a dominatrix. I let her tie up my balls and ball torture. You take a string and you do fucking not ball manipulation. I was like, this isn't. Why would you? I'm not even. Don't even. This isn't even arousing. This is painful. But fetishes are like that. Fetishes, who knows how people get off? What are you going to do? Judge someone because their brain is wired a certain way where that's the way they get off? As long as they're not harming anyone else. That was my last memory of Shah, so I had to say it. Fucking, she was very loving and kind, and that's all she's ever been to me in my life. And then and that's why she's a benefit to my life, because people like that round me out. They make me kinder and more loving, and when she tells me we're not having sex anymore, so stop trying, and then I keep trying, and she's like, I'm not hanging out with you if you're gonna keep trying to have sex with me. I'm like, okay, I'll be good. I mean, I guess I need to put more money in that bank, because even last year, when I stayed at her place recently, when I was doing my homeless run, she wouldn't let me sleep in the bed with her, and I'd like to think that we have a relationship where we can share a bed together, but she knows me, and she's like, no, you sleep on the floor at the foot of her bed like a fucking dog. I'm like, I earn that. That's what you do. If you're always horny and you're always pushing for the sex thing, you're going to earn a reputation or earn. So I understand how I'm viewed, but I can also be better. That's what I think. It's a fine line of walking, to try to be like a man, man. It's like you want to be tough and you want to be like, no, I can fucking fight. I can fucking fight. I can do the two things that men do. But then it's like I also don't want to be defined by merely fucking and fighting, or else people will always expect me to either want to fuck or fight them. So you have to round out your skill set. But we had this last It was that September. I have to go over this year shit. I'm almost forgetting this year. We had a really good talking out about stuff. Just sometimes with your friends, you have to go all the way back to the beginning and talk about stuff that, like, remember this or what about that, or we had some issues. We got heated. We got mad at each other, and we made our peace. And yeah, I'm really lucky to have her in my life still. I'm lucky that's when people say you can't be friends with your exes. You might be missing out on some good people. You might, if you can just grow a little bit more. But I don't live other people's lives. There's a lot of, I can't unpack all the emotions in my life. Sometimes those emotions are just, you don't have the time or energy to unpack them all, or just shit happens. Survival. Survival is more important than fucking understanding. What good is understanding if in the process of trying to understand it kills you? And you might not be physically dead, but emotional trauma and emotional impacts are real things. So first and foremost, you gotta take care of yourself, not listen to fucking someone's opinion. So once she leaves, I'm living with these anarchists, and and then I got my real estate license. I was working delivery jobs. I was working as a bar back in a bar in Williamsburg, and I was like, I just want to fucking make money. I'm just done. I'm done with everything. Not fuck politics, but just let's make some. I'm tired of being broke. I've never really been in New York with money in my pocket. I've always been in New York, kind of being like judging everyone with money, going to the restaurants, going to the bars, and I was always broke in New York. And then just recently, I was actually literally on the streets. So it's like stocks or real estate. And I saw a real estate company who would sponsor you for a license. I didn't know how to. Now I know more about it. Anyone can get a license, and it's a lot of just insecurity. These industries, it's just get the license. You can work for whoever you want. But from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, I need someone to help me and hold my hand. So I found a company, and then oh shit, I have to talk about the first commissions too. So I found a company. I got that license. I studied the book. The whole class I was just fucking around. I discovered OkCupid. I'm like, oh shit, OkCupid, online dating. And so I'm answering all these questions. I spent hours during this, is like a 30-hour course class over 2 weeks or something, or 3 weeks. And I'm just like answering all these OkCupid questions. And then the night before the test, it's like, fuck, I better read this. And I always trusted my intelligence. I just literally read for 16, 17 hours straight, passed the test. I looked at the book, and I divided out the chapters by how much time I had left. I was like, well, I take the test tomorrow at like 8 a.m. So if I start now and I don't sleep, and I was just, if you're motivated, you could do anything in life. I was just like, coffee. And just when I would like run out of time for that chapter, I would absorb as much as I could and move on to the next chapter. And so I divided the time I had left by the hours, didn't sleep. And because that's what cramming is. And then within an hour of taking the test, all the information, not all of it, but you retain as much as you can in a short period of time as you can. And when I was in the test, right before I took the test, like literally sitting there right before the test, I'm taking practice tests and fucking because you go into the test, you can't have anything out. So I'm literally waiting outside, still cramming. But that's real cramming is like 24 hours of nonstop, just information, because knowing that the minute you stop, it just starts seeping out. You're going to retain some of it. But yeah, I passed. You just have to get a 70%. When I did the real estate broker test to be a broker, to actually own a company, I did it a little bit more responsibly. But yes, I did that. And then I don't know if these anarchist guys didn't like it because of that, or there's this main guy who ran the house who I guess I was studying for. Well, we just had a falling off. I'd rented a room for them. That's a good story. I mean, that shows the real estate nature. I like talking to people, and so they were like, they needed to rent one of the rooms. They had 3 rooms upstairs and 2 rooms downstairs, and so one of the rooms came up, and so I was like, I'll put the ad. I'm living here, and I was trying to clean up and do other stuff. Wasn't giving them much money, so I was like, I'll put the ad, and I'll help you guys rent it. So I told the people. It was a cheap room. It was only $500 in Bed-Stuy, which is a good. You could check out that address on that ID. It's a good location. Even better now because Brooklyn only gets better and gentrifies. So I was like, whoever wants this room, come with your favorite brand of beer and impress us. And legit, people were bringing 6-packs and stuff. So like me and one of the other roommates who like, we didn't have a thing, but we got drunk together once, but nothing happened. But we were cool. It was this girl who was like, pretty crunchy hippie. She probably thought I was a bit of a dork. But I had some good ideas. This was a good idea. So by like people started coming to like 6, and by like 10, we were proper drunk. People would come, they would love the room, they'd love the price, and we'd hang out, we'd talk, we'd have fun, and usually they had a beer or two. And I think the last person brought a 6 pack, and we're like, oh man, we've been drinking all day, and we loved the last person, but we gave it to someone before, someone really fit, and we felt bad. But that last person, we sat with them, and since they were the last person, it was like an hour. We just hung out and drank the beers. It was a good idea. I don't think you could do that in proper real estate, but it showed you my instincts. Um, so we had fun. But then I moved out. I didn't really trust. I usually have an intuition of when tides are shifting. I didn't really trust that dude. There's some stuff I had heard about him, the guy who ran the house. I was starting to. I knew him in Occupy Wall Street, but I was starting to see other perspectives from other people who told me stuff. And I was just like, this is kind of a funny dude. So I started making my own moves. And I think he said I owed him like $50, $100, something about when we rented the rooms or something about money. I handled some money and I didn't handle it the right way. Um, so I just left. My bro was leaving where he was at, and he let me come into his old room in on the border of Harlem and the Upper West Side, 111th, on the top corner of Central Park. Addie was wanting to come to New York, and I was still kind of holding a flame for her. Shaw had just gone to Portland, Oregon. I didn't realize that Addie was still caught up really bad. She's pretty much was caught up all the way until last year when she finally got clean. Hers is a story about addiction and overcoming addiction. That's hers to tell, and I hope she tells it, because people need to hear that. People need to know the people who made it out and see how they made it out for inspiration. But I was like, so I got that room with her that my bro freed up. So I just left, and then I came back to Brooklyn to get my stuff. Like 2 weeks later, I had like books and some clothes in the basement, and I guess that guy who ran the house thought I just bounced with his money or something. But yeah, I knock on the door, someone answers it I don't recognize, and then I just walk past him. I'm like, I'm just here to pick up my stuff. He's like, yo, you can't just. And I'm like, no, don't worry, I used to live here. He's like, so I already know there's gonna be an issue, but I'm like, I don't even want to deal with anyone. I'm just going downstairs. So I go downstairs, grab there's like 2 or 3 shopping bags, just ghetto cheap ways to move. Shopping bags of fucking a couple books I really liked and clothes. And then the guy ran the house, and he's like 6'2", skinny white dude. He like because these are like anarchists, like read a lot and stuff like that, but not like, I don't know. I'd have to dig more into his history. But he's at the stairs. This is an unfinished basement with the Louisville Slugger, and you can tell someone's physicality by like how they move their body in space and with stuff. And so he's choked up on the back, and it's not like I'm feeling like I'm threatened for my life. I'm feeling like this person is doing something that in his mind is a tough thing to do, but is not. I'm not that scared of the situation, but it is a fucking metal bat, and he is possibly unhinged. So it's like, yo, Shaz, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing? You're in my house. And he fucking starts coming at me with the bat. I'm like, yo, dude, chill. I'm gonna get my stuff. He's like, you don't got any shit here. And I'm like, look right at my feet, dude. These bags are mine. These are my clothes. But then he starts coming at me with the bat. So it's like, this guy doesn't want to talk. So I dive in, and then he hits me on the fucking head as I grab him around. I grabbed the bat, and I fucking pull the bat away from him. He jumps on my back. I had long hair at the time. He starts pulling my hair. I'm like, this little bitch right here is gonna. So I'm like, yo, not the hair, not the hair. And I hand the bat to his fucking Gandalf looking friend. He had some like, they're like fucking like what I'm growing right now, just fucking the anarchist outside society hobbit type beards. So I was like, yo, let's go outside, let's talk, dude. Come on. So I hand the bat to his friend, neutral party, and we go outside. I didn't even grab my shit. And I was just so surprised by the whole thing. And I'm outside, and I still have the divot. What side is it? Because I got a couple. I got one from when I got beaned in Puerto Rico, and I got that one. But that one left a good little mark. And I'm like bleeding, and I'm like, you don't hit your fucking friends in the head with the fucking metal bats, dude. Like, I'm just looking at him in the eyes like, the fuck? I used to live with this guy. That's what it is more than anything. It's like, it's when you would cross that line, in my mind, is like, I know who I am, but I also know that I am exceptionally chill. So that's like, you're suicidal, you're crazy, you don't do that to people, because if I wanted to reciprocate, like, you basically told me you're using lethal force against me, so I'm justified. And I don't know. This, I know other people that I wouldn't swing a bat at, because I wouldn't be walking on this earth anymore. So it's like, you don't. I don't know. It's not a good way to live life. It's just stupid. It's like my friend in Puerto Rico would say when something happened to some guy. She's like, he was playing big boy games. She had no sympathy for him, and that was her fucking homie. But she was like, she grew up in Texas, and she's like, fucking, she knew how men communicate. And she's like, you get in certain conversations, and then there's certain fucking consequences. So if you're gonna fucking sit at that table and play those cards, then you can't complain about how the river comes out. It's just this, you knew this going in, otherwise, and fucking keep your mouth shut, or don't fuck. Like, if you pull a gun on someone, there might be a response. There's this and that. So I was just looking at this like kid, like, so I put on my hand. I shook his hand, and like, I had blood on my hand. I thought that was nice because I remember that. And I told myself, because I would get mad. It took me years to squash that in my head. But I told myself, having a word sometimes keeps you from yourself. It's like, I told myself, like, this is over now. And I shook his hand and I walked away. And emotionally, it wasn't over for years. But I saw him last year. I showed up at one of their meetings. And I was still on the email list. And I'm doing this whole year of reviewing my life. And I wanted to check if I still had any animosity in my heart for him. So I showed up at his meeting, and he was shook. He wouldn't even look me in the eyes. But I just shook his hand again. I was just like, yo, I just thinking about getting back into politics, and I wanted to maybe organize with you guys. And he was looking to the side, and he's like, well, why are you, this is kind of weird, you showing up. And I was like, dude, why is it weird? It's not weird about me. Why is it fucking, you're going to always be looking over your shoulder? I'm not like that. I'm not fucking looking after you. I'm not trying to, that's what, if you have a word, you're able to fucking just stop stuff. Like, your word means something. But then also, you don't give your fucking word freely. So sometimes I don't speak with people that I don't feel I should speak with. Or I don't say stuff is cool that I don't think isn't cool. Like that guy around me in Puerto Rico was like, we're not cool. I mean, I don't know. I know him a lot now. And he knows me a lot now. But we have an open conversation. But that one with this anarchist kid is closed. Because he's just, that's too much of a loose cannon. It's like, I knew other stuff about him. It's like, just fucking, I just hope he acts smarter in his life. And I hope he chills the fuck out. And I don't hope anything, actually. It's like my mom would say, for some people, 0 to the left. I don't think I should be involved with people like that. Because I would, yeah, that's, some people act so different than how I would act in life. It's like, it's just a liability to even fucking know them. It's just like, I'm going to be responsible for my word and my actions. And then that's all you have to do in life. The kid who robbed me in Puerto Rico, he didn't rob me. He kind of came up on me by telling me to put my things somewhere that they weren't secure. And there's so many other complications to our relationship that we're like, it's almost like we're brothers in a way, and we're bonded by people we know and stuff. But I have no bonds to this kid in Brooklyn. I could cut him from my life and I'm good. I'm probably better for it. And that's something you learn in life. Is some of the stuff isn't about revenge, it's about ongoing dialogue. But it's because you have relationships and you have people involved with each other. And you want to keep the peace within your tribe and your circle as it goes outwards. And that means sometimes you have to talk to these people, and they have to talk to you, and they have to know you're not malicious, but you don't want to be pushed certain ways, and at the same time you're trying to be humble and respectful for them and trying not to push them. And it's complicated, the posturing that goes into male relationships. I don't want a relationship with this dude. That's as simple as it is. That's what I remember when I look at this Brooklyn thing. I would do that in New York too. The same thing with New York with real estate. I have my first commissions here. Is that if I got a bad vibe from a client on the phone, we're done. I don't need every now and then I would chase bad money, and always it would burn me. So if the character is not there, I get the fuck out. because the complications are going to burn you. It's not that the person's going to outsmart you or burn you, but bad character is toxic. So that's a good lesson from that one.